always had like a kind of feeling in the back of my head like I wanted to do something bigger. I've been a big fan of fantasy since I was, how, yeah, probably about 5. I started to like fantasy stuff, and that there's always this running underlying current, not always, but a lot of the times this running underlying current of like noble houses and people wanting to build bigger things. It's grand fantasy, grand adventures and stuff like that. And I always had that feeling in the back of my head. So when I finished school, I actually left high school early and went on to an electrical apprenticeship. Um, Went through my apprenticeship fine, did pretty well. Started to build my own client book, but got an offer to do a lot of work for a particular guy. And he was pretty hard boss, but he paid very well, so I was willing to put up with it. And I used that to put a really good financial base under me. So I would basically just work as many hours as possible every week until I had enough money to buy a house, and then I'd buy a house. I'd put a down payment on a house, not buy a house outright. It wasn't that. I don't make that much money as an electrician, but so I used that and sort of set myself up, and then had and when I say I worked a lot of hours, I'm talking like 80, 90 plus, and then
wow,
kind
that's
of burned myself out. Yeah, my record was I think 100. I think it's either 114 or 119. I forget now, but it's one of the two. That was like how many hours I worked. It was unhealthy. All right, I'm not. I don't condone this by any stretch of the imagination, but it did serve me well. I will say that. And so I actually left that line of work or that job in 2015, I believe, 2014, 2015, around there. And I thought that I wanted to like do I don't know if you know what lean fire is, but like basically retire and live like a miser. So lean fire is like FIRE is fiscal independence or financial independence, retire early. Lean fire is like the light version of that. So just like live like a poor man basically. And I thought that's what I wanted to do. So I was living with my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and we lived very, very frugally. And I actually got really depressed during that period. Wasn't really building anything or making anything. I was just mucking around. I was basically a grown boy at that point. And I found myself getting very unhappy from that. So I wound up starting up a couple other businesses, a few different things. We can get into them if you like a little later. But ultimately, I wound up building up my electrical business, and I grew it quite a bit. Reasonably good work-life balance. But when we found out that my wife was pregnant with my daughter, my entire mindset shifted. Suddenly I wasn't just living for me, wasn't just trying to serve myself and my wife. It was me living for a family now. And it just completely changed my perspective on the world. And oddly enough, I was reading Dune at the time, or reading, audiobooking, okay? I was audiobooking Dune. And interestingly, and we can touch on this as well if you like, a combination of that and a couple other things kind of led me more into Christianity. But on the side of that, it also showed me that you can work towards bigger things. And this is coming all the way back into that fantasy mentality. So when I started to see, we can build bigger things, I was thinking, well, I've done all this work and sacrificed so much of my youth and gone through all this hard work to build this asset base. I don't really want it to just be for me anymore. I want to build something like an empire for my children to inherit. And that's really where that first dynastic mindset came into play. And as I started reading a whole bunch of parenting books, I'd already done the whole read a billion personal finance books, so I was good on that front. But I started reading books about old money families, how people have set up their children to and run their families in terms of inheritance and stuff like that. Because there's like a cycle that families go through. The father builds, the son buys, his son sells, and his son begs, and it's like a never-ending cycle. But there's a way to break that. And just through research and asking people, a lot of my clients as well, who have built successful businesses that their children are coming into or run now, just by asking them, I've worked out a lot of what it takes to do that for my family. And now I'm hoping to teach other families to do the same. So a bit of a background for me.